Welcome, everyone, to one of my favorite topics, which is travel photography. Now, I'm Kevin Michael Schmitz, and as many of you guys know, I am known as a celebrity fashion photographer. I shoot campaigns for Burberry. I shoot campaigns for Giorgio Armani. I am well known in shooting large-scale six-figure ad campaigns. But what many photographers out there, many of you in my audience, don't realize is that I'm also started my career as a landscape photographer and a travel photographer. In fact, my very first imagery that I sold in my life, and the very first photography, was selling to over 20 galleries and private collections when I was 19 years old. And I did my bachelor's, and then I proceeded to do my MFA to be a professor of photography. And I originally started off as a landscape photographer and travel photographer. And then it kind of ended up kind of growing into something even more substantial, with shooting people for travel, people for fashion, lifestyle, portraiture, etc., celebrities, and it kind of blossomed from there. But I do want to talk about today kind of what is the heart of where I started. And many of you guys know that I'm known as a on-location photographer, photographing, world-class, huge productions on location. But a lot of where that all stems from is being able to shoot high-end landscape and travel photography, then bringing in amazing talent, creating a scene, and then photographing them. So whether I'm shooting, and it doesn't matter if you guys do just, you're pursuing stuff for National Geographic, or you're, shooting portraiture, or you're shooting fashion or lifestyle or weddings, all landscape photography is extremely important. First of all, to expose for the background. And I'm going to be kind of revealing some of the secrets today of how to master landscape photography, how to create mind-blowing landscape photography, how to create images that are absolutely out of this world. And I'm really excited that you guys all get to join me today, because I'm going to be showcasing some incredible content, and also some incredible content that I've shot just over the last couple of days, because I'm here in France, as you can see, and I'm currently on location at my 49-room castle in France, built in the 13th century. And I actually have a home here, which is amazing. I have this epic castle, but I'm also photographing all these other incredible castles, because I now have a home base in Europe. So I am traveling around. I'm photographing all over France and all over Europe, and creating some incredible landscape photography, and also some aerial drone photography. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why this is important, and also essentially what you can do to master some of your landscape photography at the highest level. How to create content that looks like this. Now, when we're shooting landscape photography, and this is Shannon-So, this is one of the most epic and well-known castles in the world, and it was absolutely spectacular, built about 800 years ago, and then they built onto it, and about 600 years ago, they built on over the river and created this incredible palace that you see today under Catherine de' Medici and Poitiers. So these are essentially the royal family of France actually built this, and it was amazing. So I got to photograph inside and outside, and I also got to shoot a ton of aerial drone. But I want to talk about some of the secrets to this, because as you can see, this is a scene where you really need to shoot in the evening, or at dawn. So we're generally going for that golden hour, whether it's in the morning or whether it's in the evening. And as a landscape and travel photographer, it's really important to pay attention to the time of day. In fact, I am actually more open, or more excited about shooting landscape photography at certain times of day than I am with fashion photography and people photography. And the reason being is, when I'm shooting people, I can, control everything. I can bring in lights, I can bring in strobes, I can bring in giant bounces and scrims and everything. But when we're shooting landscape photography, we don't have any control over that, over the natural specular light or diffused light on the subject. So, in this case, Shannon-So is the subject, and I want to make sure that I can capture it in the best possible light imaginable. Really, really key and critically important. So when I'm creating something like this, I'm going to be timing it carefully. Now, one of the things that kind of the first strategy that I would recommend to you guys is to make sure to time everything really carefully, not only from the time of day as far as photographing, but also the time of day of where there's guests, there's visitors, there's people, because this is visited by thousands of people a day. And it's, it's open all the time. So, and oftentimes these fabulous castles in France, it's hard to actually get access close enough to the castle during any time where the castle's not open, because it's not just the castle, but they own the entire grounds around it. So everything is fenced off. So making sure that we can time this right. Now, one, of course, great way that we can get in now is with drones. So, that is something that, even at the end of the day, when everything is closed, you can wait until all the guests leave, and then you can shoot with your drone, or right before it opens. And I do recommend doing that because you can get in all kinds of incredible angles, and that would be my strong recommendation. But also, if you want to capture with, I shoot with a Canon R5, and if you want to shoot, with the R5 and you want to, create mind-blowing content that, whether it's photographic or video, when I'm shooting with my R5, I am also, it's a really high megapixel camera. I believe it's a 45 megapixel, and also shoots in 8K video, which is incredible, and it's all full frame. So when I'm shooting content like this of a fabulous chateau like Chenonceau, I am definitely going to start thinking about, all right, well, I can shoot some great stuff, during the day, but the trouble is there's going to be people in the scene. So now when I was shooting, I had a lot of issues with weather. And that obviously, that's another thing. You're only, when you're traveling, you don't always have control of how long you're going to stay in a location. So when I'm here traveling in France and I'm up in the Loire Valley, I didn't have a lot of control over, exactly how long I'm going to be there and the weather that's going to be there while I'm there at that location. So when I actually brought the aerial drone up in the sky, it was right before a huge storm, and and it started pouring rain. So so I did capture some drone stuff. Obviously, I think it's great. The photography stuff is even stronger as far as capturing the best light. But with aerial drone, a couple of secrets. One would be to shoot this. If it was sunnier at this point, to be able to shoot this at a time of day where it's a bit more specular light. And since we are shooting aerial, it is okay to shoot in the middle of the day as well. Now this becomes a little bit more diffused because obviously the clouds had rolled in at this point, and now we have a little bit more of a diffused light, a little softer, and it has a cinematic look, but doesn't have that beautiful landscape pow that I want. And as you can see, the difference between the photograph shot at the right time of day and the drone photography shot at a time of day where the clouds rolled in. Still beautiful content, but isn't my absolute perfect ideal. And that's something to think about, guys, because diffused light can be great, and especially for shooting video. But I definitely think that when we're shooting content that is for with the intention of having a in, like, say, an amazing gallery, and you want to use this as a fine art piece, I would definitely want to shoot something that has a really beautiful the light obviously is everything. So you want to capture incredible light if we're going to be doing that. So start thinking about all those little details, when we're capturing all the different times of day, whether you're at Chenonceau or Valandry or the Fontainebleau or Versailles, which of course is, one of my absolute favorites. In fact, I was shooting at Versailles as well this week. So this gives you a little bit of an idea though. And of course, getting low is also really key and important. And this is something that, later, right before it started raining, I was able to bring the drone lower over to the water, even just, a couple of meters above the water, and to capture that content as well. So, but when we're shooting, I'm also thinking about exposure. Now, it's with a drone, it's generally better to do a little bit underexposed rather than shooting a little bit overexposed, which is what I tend to do when I'm photographing. When I'm photographing, especially people, especially lifestyle, I tend to do a little bit of a proper exposure or slightly overexposed. When I'm shooting content like this, I'm generally trying to shoot this a little bit either neutral exposure or slightly under, just because the drone doesn't have the capability of having the same amount of variation as far as the ability to capture the highlights and the shadows. The drone struggles just a little bit, and that's one thing that I'm really aware of, because when I shoot with the drones and I'm shooting the highlights, oftentimes they can be blown. If they're blown out, you lose it, and it looks pretty bad on a drone. Whereas photography, you can cheat it a little bit. So, all right, guys. Now, I want to. I'm going to be posting a few polls, and I want to hear, your perspective as far as what type of photography you do, because I know we have a lot of, probably a lot of travelers right now, people that are photographing and traveling around the world. It's the summertime. This is like the first summer that we've had post COVID that essentially everybody's able to travel all around the world with almost no type of restrictions, which is pretty incredible. So I know a lot of you guys are out there traveling and creating all kinds of amazing content. And I'd love to know what type of photography you guys specialize in, what you do, what you love to do, what you're passionate about. Is it travel photography, fashion photography, portrait photography? Do you shoot just architectural? What is it? What do you guys do? Because I am curious, what type of photography do you guys love to do? And for me, I'm passionate. I'm known as a fashion photographer. I shoot campaigns for Burberry. I shoot campaigns for Giorgio Armani. I shoot campaigns for Pepsi. I shoot with a lot of big brands, but I also am passionate not only about fashion photography and lifestyle photography, but travel is definitely something that I've always fallen in love with. It is so amazing. And for me, I feel like you can really tell a story with travel photography, whether it's just landscape or whether you're shooting photo documentary and creating some amazing photo documentary photography as well. So I think that, when you guys are thinking about it, you can do a lot of different types of photography, and you can also pursue a lot of different types of photography as far as a career. It's just that, obviously this is a little bit more of a challenge. Travel photography, there's only a handful of photographers out there in the world that are making, large amounts of money and really succeeding as a career. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, you can't just do this for fun and enjoy it and absolutely love it and do all the photography that you would love to do. So for me, and I'm also going to bring on my amazing production coordinator, Priscilla Evans, who is also traveling with me around France. And we are shooting a series of productions, not only amazing travel photography at places like Valandry and Chenonceau and Fontainebleau, but we're also, and of course, at Chateau de Rêve Francais, which is my castle. But we're also going to be filming a series of 2 TV shows while here in France and a series of huge fashion productions. So Priscilla is going to be on with me, and she's an expert on production coordination, especially travel, because this becomes a little bit more challenging when you're in another country, when you can't speak the language, when you're trying to find the right teams or find the right locations or find the right guide and all of that. Really, really important. And by the way, of course, I am sharing the results of the survey, and it looks like most of you guys are travel photographers, which is fantastic. I love it. Love to see travel photographers on here. Now, travel photography is a pretty wide gamut, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this because, of course, we're talking a little bit about some of this stuff, this amazing locations in France, of course, but there's obviously a huge variation in travel photography. Now, of course, I was able to capture this this image I'm about to show you guys of this castle, of the one I'm at now, my castle, and this was shot at just the right time of day. This was timed really carefully to get just the right highlights, the right shadows coming across the castle, and I'm very, very aware of positioning. And I've photographed like probably 3,000 images at different locations around my castle to get the right shot. And I feel like this was the right and most emblematic perspective of the castle. So, even though this perspective right here, as I step aside, this is a gorgeous view too. I shot this a ton from this angle, but I love this angle, the one that I'm showing you now, because what it shows is a little bit of a different perspective. You see a little perspective as far as the 3-dimensional figure of the castle, showing that there are actually 4 towers in this image. It shows that there are 3, but there's also a square tower in the back. But I love to be able to see the 3-dimensional feel of it, and you get a little bit of perspective. Just like if you were an artist going to art school and, in kind of drawing 101, you learn about perspective. I am showcasing this right here in this photograph. So I'm getting a little bit off to the right, not totally centered, and creating an image where I'm capturing this balustrade right in the front here with the flowers, showcasing the castle, the guardhouse, and really capturing kind of the essence of what Chateau de Rêve Francais, the French Dream Castle, is all about. And by the way, we also lead epic photographic travel workshops and fashion workshops here at my castle, and we do this each year. And it's an epic experience. If you guys are interested in that, let me know, because we are opening this up. It is a ultra luxury experience where the interior is designed to be identical to Versailles, with the whole King Louis XIV style, with unbelievable elaborate furniture. We have a butler. We've got a massage therapist actually on premise for when our guests are here. We actually have a massage room in the Southeast Tower, and it is an unbelievable experience, not only to stay but also to photograph the greatest travel images, or on location images in a place like France that you've ever shot in your lifetime. So that's really a special experience, and it's something that I would love for you guys to capture. Now, and I see some questions here. And by the way, guys, if you want to ask some questions, I'd love to answer them. And I'd love it if you guys can put them in the chat. That's the best spot. I'm sorry, instead of the chat, into the Q&A, because all of you guys are writing it in the chat. So make sure to put it in the Q&A rather than the chat. And we can definitely answer those questions one at a time. And by the way, Crystal Bear, who has attended several of our epic experiences, she asked a question to us. And Priscilla, if you can actually repost her question so that everyone can see. Kevin, do you use HDR style of editing for landscape? That's a great question. So, HDR is a lot, if you guys aren't familiar with it, you kind of have it automatically on your cell phones, on your iPhones. But oftentimes, what that's doing, it's just kind of manipulating essentially multiple frames of the image at different exposures, and then kind of putting them all together. Now, I mean, that is a great way, to create a great image on your phone. But me personally, I like to use Photoshop. I like to do it all by hand. To me, that's the best way to get the most detail as far as retouching. And that's the way that I, worked with this image. So, but that's an excellent question, Crystal. I think that if you are going to use this image for like a gallery image or to sell it to a client or something, I definitely would create that effect, but using different layers in Photoshop. In fact, we have a mastering retouching workshop that we also offer. This is another of amazing travel destination photography that I captured. This was in Bora Bora. If you guys don't know already, I am also a TV host, director, and producer of the TV show Great Escapes that airs on CBS. And this was filming during one of our episodes of our show. So I, of course, get to shoot a lot of great travel photography, and a lot of not only is a show about going to the most ultra luxury destinations around the world, but it also features me photographing at all these destinations. So when we're in the Maldives or Bora Bora or in Kauai, I'm like hanging out of a helicopter photographing waterfalls and stuff like that. So I do a lot of landscape photography and travel photography in the show, as well as kind of a resort lifestyle. So if any of you guys on here are into resort lifestyle travel, that's a whole nother beast, and I'm going to get into that as well. And I'd love it if you guys mention that. If you guys are into that, you can mention it in the chat or in the Q&A. If you also shoot or want to shoot any of like the travel resort lifestyle, because that's a great way to jump into the travel world, because you can start shooting for clients just like me, and also shooting great travel lifestyle stuff along the way. So even though I'm hired to shoot this TV show and to film around the world, while we're filming content like this in Bora Bora over Mount Otomanu, I'm also capturing great landscape photography, just like you see here. Now, I shot some of these images that I'm going to show you from an airplane when I was about to jump out and skydive over Mount Otomanu, but also I think this specific image was shot with a drone. Now, I love the drone perspective just because it has a really beautiful, different way of shooting down and getting really high. And that's what I love about this. Whereas with an airplane, of course, you can do that, but it's very... there's a lot of movement, and unless you have an amazing setup with stabilizers, it's hard to get just the right shot. And also you need to take the doors off of an airplane and literally hang out of the airplane to get the right shot, which is a little tricky to do. So it's not my preference, and it's also pretty complicated, and it's a big ask, because a lot of pilots that they don't allow that because of obviously safety concerns. But I have done it. I've leaned out of airplanes, I've leaned out of helicopters, and that is great. But to be honest, the drones shoot such great content, just like you see here. It's not even worth shooting out of an airplane anymore. We have drones that do the same thing. So definitely recommend that. Okay, so and by the way, I'm just going to mention Crystal Bear. I'm going to kind of repost some of her comments here in the chat. This is from Crystal Bear. She basically says that she's been using her Miami workshop images so much to showcase travel and resort photography, which is fantastic, and I love it, and that's kind of what it's all about. Now, in addition to an image like this, now this was shot pretty much out of camera. The only thing that I would say that I modified to this image to give it that HDR look is I believe that I slightly enhanced the curves layer. I just slightly adjusted the curves layer, but this is honestly maybe a 20% modification. This was not like a massive adjustment here. It was shot pretty close to out of camera, but I did also slightly adjust color, adding a little bit of green and cyan to the areas where you see them kind of like, almost glow and illuminate. And that looks really beautiful, but it also has, it becomes a little bit more color correct. And I love using that. So I'm not doing a whole lot to my landscape photography, but I want to make it pop just a little bit more, because I think that the more you make it pop, of course, the better it's going to look, because I'm all about that just impact. And that's what you want with landscape photography, because you know what, guys, landscape photography, everything's been done. Everything's been shot a million times, right? By people all over the world over the years. And, to be able to shoot that original new image that no one else has shot before, that's not easy to do. So, what I like to do is, I'm going to come up and try to create new versions of it. But most importantly, I want to shoot an image with impact. I want to make sure that you're just like, oh my gosh, like that is an impactful image. That's an image that I want to put on my wall. Now, this is an image I shot with a photographic camera off of a boat this was off the coast of Kauai. And this gives you kind of an idea of shooting with SLR. I also used a graduated neutral density filter on this. I shot where essentially what that means is that you put the filter on the front of your lens, and that darkens the top of the frame. So essentially where the sky is, and it darkens it, and there's like a gradient that going down. So the top of your image starts to darken a little bit, where it allows the lower part of the image to be properly exposed. I did some slight modifications in Photoshop, but not tremendous. Just, again, a slight curves layer adjustment, brightness contrast adjustment, just really slight, not a whole lot. But on this image, I used my patented sharpen only edges action, which I also talk about in the master retouching workshop that we have, the virtual workshop, and where I use this special action to make it pop even more. But this image has impact. And to be honest, this image I probably printed like giant 4x6 foot prints and sold more of this image than probably any of my other landscape photography. It just has a certain look to it, a certain impact to it. And I love, the clouds descending. I love the kind of the veins of the mountains of Kauai, and it looks amazing. So, I know a lot of you guys are probably more familiar with my fashion work and stuff, but I do shoot a lot of this landscape stuff, and I am passionate about it. I love it. I feel like, this kind of stuff is, it really is kind of takes you to that epic, exotic destination, just like this one, another scene. I believe this one was from the perspective also of the Four Seasons Bora Bora. And we shot this also with aerial drones. So while we're filming our show. But I love it seen like this because it shows some context, shows different colors, different variation of colors. And, and almost, there's a sense of vernacular color, which is it's a kind of a term usually used within an image to decide, you kind of label it in an image if you have the same color kind of over and over again, reoccurring 3 or more times in an image. So in this image, you've got the blues kind of reoccurring throughout it. And then you also cross that with the greens reoccurring through different areas of the image. And it makes the eye kind of dot around the image. And that's one of the things I love about this image, because it really makes the viewer kind of look through the image and look, all over the quest, all over the throughout it. And okay, so I want to get to some of your guys's questions. Kelly Veach, how do you structure travel packages? I shoot weddings and I have issues pricing for these. Okay, that is a great question, Kelly. And I think that Priscilla, she also had answered you, but you've got some great, that's a great question. And oftentimes I have a lot of photographers that really struggle with pricing. Right now, Priscilla suggested that the pathway to booking some of those $10,000 destination shoots on up to about $20,000 destination shoots. These are $10,000 to $20,000, say, wedding photography shoots where they hire you to come with them to Bora Bora. Is to essentially brand yourself with world-class content with impact, images that are going to blow away the competition, images that are just going to just knock their socks off. And a lot of photographers, they struggle with this. They don't think about this. They're just shooting images of their customers, and they're showcasing images of their customers, which might not be supermodels, they might not be celebrities, they might not be fashion models. And many photographers say, well, yeah, but that's what my customers look like. Okay, no problem. But that's not what clients are looking for, guys. It's not. Trust me. They are not looking for that. Customers every day, especially Kelly, when they are looking at photography, when they're looking to book their wedding, for instance, they're looking in all of these amazing magazines. They're looking at, they're everywhere they go. They're picking up bridal magazines. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for the best wedding planner, the best locations, all the best of the best, right? So I shot this right here at Chateau de Rêve Francais, my castle. And we shot this with a supermodel from Germany. We brought in 2 Frisian horses. We did this large scale production with incredible wedding dresses. This is I think like a $15,000 wedding dress, incredible bouquets of flowers. And we captured beautifully lit, high-end destination wedding photography, but there's no real bride here. This is a top model. Kelly, this is what I'd recommend you do. Shoot and produce a massive scale destination wedding epic fashion story, just like you see here. And this all rolls into travel photography. So I'm glad you asked this question, because this is important. This is very important. And this is something that, it just so happens that it's also something that, we kind of specialize in. So we offer epic destination photographic experiences, including one here at the castle, shooting at these massive scale, unbelievable locations with supermodels, just like you see here, and everything's provided. We're shooting this unbelievable top model, and we've got everything from the lighting to the styling to the production team, and you can create content like this, which is travel photography, by the way. I mean, this is definitely travel photography, right? But it's travel wedding photography, and that's what you need. That's what you desperately need. But that is a really, really great question. And this is what my answer to you would be, is to develop a whole body of work that looks like this, where essentially these are what I would consider an iconic image, an image that just stands out, and you're just wowed and dazzled. And clients that, these $20,000 clients that are going to book you, that are doing $1 million weddings like they're going to be doing here at my castle, they are looking for content like this. And we happen to direct a workshop at my castle in France. We also have them domestically in Los Angeles at our Elite Masterclass. We have one in New York, and a lot of our wedding photographers attend those workshops as well. So that would be a strong recommendation of me. I think that would be a really great idea, is to attend that one, Kelly. So definitely get in touch with our team. And I would love for you to set up a dedicated one-on-one momentum session, totally free. And one of our team members can jump on with you, one of our photographic consultants that actually work personally with me and all, work with me on my productions. They can actually help coach you for free on how to maximize your photographic career, how to be able to book those $20,000 weddings, Kelly. And I think that's really, really, really important for you to start thinking about. So start really branding yourself as a world-class fashion photographer and travel photographer that just happens to shoot weddings. Right. So that's something that I definitely think that you would be a great candidate. And also, Kelly asks, how do you market for travel work if you don't usually get to travel as much? I had a kid early on, and I have had major issues finding clients that will hire me when I don't have that specific experience. Okay, no problem, no problem. Well, again, I think that attending one of these experiences with us, working with me, working with all my contacts, working with supermodels that, have been in campaigns for Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, been in Vogue, Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, and then shooting at these unbelievable locations at one of our workshops, even in the United States, it will provide an experience. It'll provide that opportunity for you to brand yourself and showcase yourself as that world-class travel photographer. Because I know that you guys don't all have access. You might not all be, in the same position as far as being able to travel the way I can. And that's okay. There's ways around it, and there's ways in which we can help you, right? But these are excellent questions, Kelly. All right. And I'd love for you guys to keep rolling in with the questions, because this is brilliant. I'm here for you. We do these free epic webinars every week or two to just really give as much value as possible, help you guys, help you grow, because this is all about, this is my mission. I do this, I travel all over the world, but for me, my passion is helping photographers, helping you guys take it to the highest level of your potential. And that's why I've been really blessed. I've been able to start off shooting all this travel stuff, and then it turned into a travel show, which is pretty cool. So, this is actually a feature editorial about my travel show, Great Escapes. My show currently airs on CBS. If you guys watch it on Saturdays, this was from an episode of Bora Bora. Now, this is a type of travel photography that I think is on another level. Okay, so I know, we're talking about all this great landscape photography, and it's pretty pictures of pretty places, and that's great. That's wonderful. Beautiful places of Bora Bora. Absolutely, it's stunning. It's fun. It's great. But if you want to take it to another level, if you want to be financially successful in photography, or actually make it more than just a hobby, instead of just shooting an image like this, right? Shooting an image like this is on another planet, because it showcases the features of a 5-star resort. And when you're showcasing something like this, it takes a lot of coordination. So this wasn't just random by happenstance in the photo documentary. This is something where we posed it. We coached the outrigger team to deliver an outrigger breakfast to my overwater bungalow in the morning. Had to have the right light at the right time of day. So this wasn't really the early morning. This was a little bit later, around 11 a.m. or so, when the light is really good. And also the guys had to paddle like hell because the water and the current was so strong. So this was not easy to capture. But we shot this from a drone. One of my team members shot this, featuring myself and my co-host, on our overwater villa, and it showcases context. So if you guys dream of shooting for, the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons, or doing travel destination resort photography, which is a part of travel photography, this is the kind of image and editorial story that I think is probably extremely important to be able to build something like this into your body of work. And I think that we offer experiences like this as well at our workshops. We offer specifically a resort and travel workshop, shooting resort lifestyle and swim photography in Miami Beach in April. Now, this always also showcases, kind of a variation of different types of kind of the travel resort and destination photography, which, I don't know about you, but wherever I travel, I want to bring my drone. I love shooting with drone photography. And I think that it really makes, it gives you a different perspective. It allows you to shoot from above. It allows you to create this mind-blowing content that you'd never be able to shoot from the ground. And for those of you guys who want to know what I'm shooting with, because, you guys are all out there probably, thinking about that. Hey, what's the exposure? What's the, what kind of equipment does Kevin use? Well, I want to talk about that as well. So the drone that I use is, I love shooting with the DJI Mavic, the most recent Mavic 3. And this is beautiful because we get to shoot everything in 4K at 120 frames a second. So this little bad boy right here. So I'm using this all the time, constantly, when I travel around the world. In fact, we're going to be going back and filming in the Maldives here in 3 weeks. And I'm basically going to be filming a huge amount of it from my drone because the Maldives is the most incredible place to shoot stuff with an aerial view. Okay, so this drone, very easy to control, very inexpensive. And I know many of you guys that haven't shot with a drone yet, you're probably thinking, yeah, this is great, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have my pilot's license. What if I crash it? I get that. But I have to say, it is so easy that a little child could operate this and not crash it because it has so many safety features. And no, I don't have any connection to DJI, but I have to admit, over the years, their equipment has improved so much since the first DJI Pro. I think I had the DJI Mavic 1, and the first time I used it, the thing had a disconnection and it dove into a pool when I was shooting at a $56 million mansion at Jacob Bush's house, the owner of Anheuser-Busch. And I shot this fashion shoot, and I thought it would be cool to bring a drone on set and shoot some aerial stuff. And it was terrible because the drone, they didn't really have the technology worked out back then, and the DJI Mavic 1 died. The Mavic 2 is incredible. So if you guys have a Mavic 2, I love it. You don't necessarily need to upgrade. But the Mavic 3, what's great about it is if you are into filming like me, not just photographing, it shoots in 4K at 120 frames a second. That means slow-mo. And to me, I love that. So like the content that I've been showing you, a lot of it was shot in slow-mo, a lot of this aerial drone photography or in video. And you can easily toggle back and forth between the video, its functions, and the photographic functions. So I'm going to be incorporating that a lot, shooting at these epic castles, as well as my photographic camera as well, of course. And also when I am doing video, doing travel video stuff, I'm also using my gimbal, which is putting my Canon R5 on a stabilizing gimbal to do that. But also, guys, if you do want to get into travel photography, I recommend working on also getting published, not just, going and shooting for fun, but also shooting for an intention. Like for instance, when I shot for the show, some past episodes, what I did was I also shot some incredible editorial stories that I featured in a series of different magazines. And I also incorporated a little editorial story about the show, which was cool. So it gives them great publicity. Or you can do a story about whatever, about the amazing resort or the travel experience. This is your kind of opportunity to be an Anthony Bourdain, and also underwater photography. So I shot with my my Canon with an underwater body and submerged my underwater, and we shot underwater photography and video of this submarine experience. So I like to shoot with everything. I bring my underwater camera everywhere, and that's actually a photograph of me operating my underwater camera on the left side. And then there's an image with where we had a diver operate the underwater camera when I was in the submarine. So, but getting all the functions correct and operating it with the underwater camera body, I recommend the Ike Light. That's the best for when you're doing travel destination video and photography. I think that has the best quality and durability when it comes to underwater camera bodies. So you don't have to worry about your camera getting wet, because obviously it has to be sealed, and you don't want that camera to leak, the camera body to leak. Now, let's get to some settings. Now, when I am shooting, I love to shoot with this R5, and as you guys can see, my Canon R5. One of my favorite cameras. And I'm also, if I'm shooting landscape photography, and I also use the same lens if I'm shooting lifestyle or travel lifestyle photography, I'm shooting with my 15 to 35 millimeter. Okay. This is my favorite lens. I love this lens. This is an amazing lens. Now, oftentimes, of course, if I'm going to be photographing in the Maldives, for instance, where it's super bright light and it's gorgeous out and you've got, everything at your fingertips, everything's beautiful, there's a lot of light. Okay. So we can actually work with a very low ISO. So I love to shoot with an ISO 100. And I also like to have, if I'm not moving a lot, it doesn't really matter on the shutter speed. So if I go, as long as I go 1/200th of a second or faster, I'm usually fine. Obviously, if the subject is moving or running, or if I'm trying to photograph a dolphin from a boat or something like that, I might amp it up to like 1,000th of a second or 2,000th of a second or even faster. But then, of course, it's an inverse proportion to your aperture, so you have to adjust that and your ISO. So but oftentimes I'm for most I would say travel photography, I'm often shooting at between 200 and 400th of a second, right? And that's pretty common for a lot of my travel photography. Now, if I'm then thinking about that, I'm also going to be thinking about my aperture. Now, many of you guys, I know a lot of you guys are guilty of this, especially portrait photographers and headshot photographers, love to shoot with a very shallow depth of field. Okay. Now I understand that, and I understand the kind of buttery look that you get from it, and that's cool. But me personally, I think that it's more effective if you shoot everything with a deep aperture and then you can selectively adjust the focus and add Gaussian blur in post-production. That way you can get everything in focus. So for instance, this image has a very deep aperture. I think this was shot at about f/18. Everything from the little shrubs in front to the palm tree to the overwater villas, they're all razor sharp. Okay. And that's awesome because that way, I can create a very sharp scene and everything's in focus. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about, like, say, if the resort bought this image, and maybe the overwater villas are blurry, but the shrubbery is in focus because I shot at an f/2.8, they're not going to want it. They're going to want everything in focus. Now, if I wanted to create that shallow depth of field, I can easily do it using a Gaussian blur. And that's my technique when I'm using when I'm shooting something with a lot of depth of field and I want to bring some of the focus to more of a shallow looking focus. That would be the strategy. All right, guys. Now, and also, if you haven't answered, I'd love for you guys to answer in the survey, the poll. How likely would you guys enroll? 1 to 10, if you guys are interested in coming to any of our epic photographic experiences. And we have them all over the world. They're not only here in France, but we also have certain opportunities. For instance, we had a photographer named Enoch Chan and his wife actually came with me and did a one-on-one workshop with me in the Maldives, where they actually got to film with me and film and photograph in the Maldives at Harathan Sara, which is like a 7-star resort in the Maldives. And that we do offer special opportunities like that. It was just a one-on-one, just them and me. And we were able to create just unbelievable content together. And it was absolutely out of this world as far as quality, as far as, what he was able to take away from that. And it was really, really special. So if that is something that you guys are interested in doing, we of course do offer those experiences. And I feel like, this is something that, it's for somebody that really is passionate about doing something like travel. We offer that. And also, if you're interested in video, for instance, Enoch happens to be like a camera operator working for a TV network, and he really wants to kind of take it up to the next level and be a more of a TV director and get into higher level stuff. But this is kind of some of the stuff that this is straight out of camera, a drone shot right out of camera that we shot at Harathan Sara, just to give you any kind of an idea of what that experience feels like and looks like. But it's, absolutely unbelievable. And the location is just ridiculously beautiful. These islands are, just out of a fantasy. They're out of a dream. I've never seen anything like it. And, if you guys ever want to, see what luxury is all about, the Maldives is really where it's at. It's just on another planet. And that's why we're going back there to film here in a few weeks. But content like this is also shot with the aerial drone. This is also done during the one-on-one. So we shot not only content of the resort, but also content of people, and namely myself, my co-host, doing episodes of the show. And he's actually going to be featured in the show, which is pretty awesome. We also have amazing photographic workshops and video workshops where we have them here in the States, including Miami. And that is an incredible experience because you get to shoot with world-class supermodels, some of which have been in Sports Illustrated. We've had Miss Universe. We've had the cover of Playboy. We've had just some unbelievable talent that we've brought in at our Miami experience. And we're able to create just absolutely unbelievable content for travel, destination, and resort photography and video. And that's kind of what that's all about when you're shooting content for at our Miami workshop. And that's one that if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, I definitely recommend it. It is going to be an experience that you will never forget. It's a different type of travel photography. This obviously is more of a travel lifestyle photography. And this gives you a little bit of a feel of what it's like at our Miami Beach experience, shooting on location with supermodels in Miami Beach and shooting like a travel resort lifestyle. We actually shot in this conjunction with the SLS Miami and also featured this in a multi-page magazine editorial, getting the photographers that attended published, which was really special, and also shooting unbelievable video content that they used for their video reel, which is really exciting. All right, guys. So, and it looks like many of you guys are interested in enrolling in a workshop, which I love. I'd love to know, what is your budget? Because I know many of you guys travel, and whether you travel to Europe or you travel to the Maldives or Bora Bora, or whether you are traveling around the States, what would be your budget to enroll and to invest in yourself in one of these photographic experiences? Would this be something that you would want to do? And if so, what would be your budget? And this is important to think about, because producing something like this on your own, especially Kelly, like, what we talked about earlier, if you were to produce that shoot with the world-class supermodel, with the unbelievable production, the stylists, the dresses, the on location at a castle in France, the cost is astronomical. It's anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a day. So that's why doing something like this is really, really spectacular. Or, for instance, when you go to Harrington Zara or even Four Seasons Bora Bora, locations like that, it was $2,500 a night per room plus food. So it was about $3,000 a night per room, and with everything, with just the stay, let alone the production costs of what that is. All right, now I want to get to some more questions here, guys. And I also want to bring on our illustrious panelists, Priscilla Evans. All right, so we have some great questions from Crystal. So Crystal Bear, how do you sell your travel images? Licensing for commercial use or consumer or digital only? All right, so if you are licensing travel images, generally it's not for consumer use. Generally, you would sell say a giant canvas print for consumer use. So if somebody wants to put it up in their house or in their castle, they would want a big, beautiful canvas print, most likely. And there's a lot of great printers out there. I really love one. There's a one called Canvas Discount. I've done those big, huge prints that I was showing you earlier with images specifically of Bora Bora and also of Kauai. I printed some of these using that company, and it was so cheap. It was only like a few $100, and I was able to print a giant 4x6 foot print with them, and I was able to resell this to clients as well. So that would be an opportunity if you have clients that would want to buy something like this for their home. If it costs you $300, maybe charge for a 4x6 foot print, maybe $1,500, something like that, just to make sure you have enough margin to make it worthwhile for you because of the time, the photograph, the usage of the image, the printing of the image, all the everything, and you as a photographer, you should get your cut. Now, if you're licensing commercial use for the images, it's a little bit different. Oftentimes, commercial corporations do want images like this and video for their content, especially video. Now, I've had experience in this, and I've had clients contact me that want to buy, for instance, like a stock photograph or stock image that I filmed in Bora Bora or in the Maldives or in Abu Dhabi or Dubai or in Israel or in Japan, and I've negotiated licensing for a certain clip, like just a clip from a drone or a clip from an underwater camera. I've also negotiated it for just individual images. Now, of course, the price can vary wildly based upon the usage. So the first thing that I ask Crystal is, what is the usage? Where are you going to use this image? Is it going to be like a campaign, like a commercial campaign? Is it going to be on a billboard? Is it going to be in like print media, like in a magazine? Is it going to be like, where is it going to be? Or is it just going to be on social media? And if so, what's the media buy? If it's going to be on Facebook or Instagram, okay, that's great. But, Facebook and Instagram are not free to do ads because these businesses are all buying ads. What is their budget? How much are they spending on that ad? It's important to ask. So it depends on what the image is, but it can range anywhere from, say, for rights managed licensing of an image, full resolution image, it can range anywhere from $300 up to, say, $3,000 and onward to license the image. Now, if it's a clip, like a video clip, it can be a lot more. So when I've licensed video clips, I've gotten away with doing like $3,000 to $6,000 for one clip, one like 2-second clip. Because those clips are kind of one of a kind, especially if you're in a place like Bora Bora and only so many people have shot content like that, so I've had clients come to me and and ask because they want to use my content and buy it. So definitely something to think about. And if you're photographing beautiful stuff, travel photography around the world, or even if it's something in your local area, definitely think about that. Now if you're selling something with a person in it, it's a lot different. Now you also have to get a model release from the talent, and you have to generally pay that talent the usage based upon what it is, what you're getting paid. So, for instance, if I'm licensing video content and it's a $3,000 licensing for that couple second clip, and I had talent in it, I had models in it, I would go back to the agency, the modeling agency, and this is kind of a secret here. I wouldn't ask them. I would tell them, because if you go back and you ask them and you say, hey, I did this shoot, the client wants to buy it, how much would you charge for more usage? Well, they have you over a barrel now, because they know that without their written consent and model release, you can't sell it. So they can charge you anything you want. So, if you're charging 3,000, maybe they're going to ask for 2,000, you make a tiny margin. So what I do is I would just come to them and I would say, okay, modeling agency, we did this shoot. I can get your model, $400 in extra usage for this. It's just, they're just buying this as a stock usage. That's what we can pay for them, for the talent. Do you want to do it or not? And you can start the negotiation there. So come up with something that you think is fair and offer it to them. Oftentimes for them, it doesn't cost them anything. They're just going to say yay or nay. Oftentimes they'll go along with it, especially if it's, just a couple second clip or something like that. It's not going to be necessarily a full scale commercial for a re-syndication. Great question, though. All right, next question. Michael Kluk, and you asked a great question here. So I love this. How many assistants do you have when shooting high-end destination weddings? Do you have reflectors or scrims? Seems like it would slow things down. Okay, great question. Assistants definitely don't slow things down, but yes, scrims do. Scrims are very heavy. You saw some of them being used in that Miami video. And when you're seeing a lot of my content being filmed, a lot of it is shooting with scrims. A lot of it is scrims and bounces. In fact, a lot of the content that you saw, even the destination wedding stuff, is shot with scrims and bounces. I do sometimes use, B1s, some ProPhoto B1s as portable battery operated lights, but I really love shooting with scrims and bounces. That is my favorite. So, and to give you an idea, like, I'm going to show you a few other videos, you guys, and what it would be like, whether you're doing a wedding or whether you're doing a fashion shoot. I like to have, especially if it's a big fashion shoot like that, or fashion wedding shoot, at least a couple of assistants, just because of the logistics with the equipment. And especially, guys, if the weather picks up, right? Like out here, we're shooting in the desert in Las Vegas, and we're shooting this massive scale, on location fashion, experience with supermodels from Harper's Bazaar and Vogue and Elle and Vanity Fair. And we shot this at our Las Vegas workshop. Well, I think we had like 5 assistants on location at that fashion workshop. Now, at that destination wedding shoot that you guys saw, I believe I had 4 assistants on set with me that day. But generally, 3 to 5 is good. I think you can get away with 2. I wouldn't recommend anything less than that. They don't have to be expensive. You can also ask, a young person, bring out an intern, a college kid or a high school kid to come and help you out. There's nothing wrong with that. All you need is just an extra pair of strong hands. Somebody who's strong, somebody who's not afraid to stand there all day and hold things. But make sure that they're willing to do that, because you don't want somebody that's like, not okay with like being on set all day, because some people are into it, like us as photographers, and some people are not. So you got to make sure that there are people that are willing to do it. And generally an aspiring photographer is the best person. Even myself, I interned when I was 19. I did it for free. I interned under a fashion photographer and portrait photographer and wedding photographer, and I assisted him for a year. His name was Tim Priest in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he, because he's the only photographer I knew in the area that did this kind of stuff. And I worked with him for a year, and I learned so much. I volunteered my time, but it helped me grow as a photographer immensely. And I do recommend having helpers, no matter what they are, whether they're free or paid or whatever. I, of course, on these big productions, I always pay my assistants. I bring on, highly skilled paid assistants to make sure that all the details are perfect and the production goes completely over the top, because I have a lot on the line and I don't want to mess anything up. So I got to make sure everything runs flawlessly. Really, really important to do. All right, so I want to get to a few more questions. And also, I want to show you my reel because in my video reel, which I am also about to recut, I'm going to showcase not only some of my travel video and photography, but also some of my celebrity stuff as well. But a lot of the stuff was all shot on location. This gives you an idea.
Epic, adrenaline-filled challenges where it seems there's no way you can make it, but you'll find a way.
So whether it's destination travel, filming, or whether it's, shooting with models out on location at a resort or for a major brand, I do think destination stuff is where it's at. I do offer, options to shoot in studio, but I always prefer to be on location. And I know many of you guys do as well. If you're travel photographers and, and you're into travel photography or drone photography or video, whatever, on location is everything. And honestly, to take it a step up and shoot a fashion shoot or a lifestyle shoot, all you do is shoot landscape photography, and then you add in a model. And then the model, of course, is not going to be lit properly. So then you add in a bounce. And if the bounce isn't enough, then you add in a strobe.
You're it.
And you can create these dynamic scenes. And just like you see here, almost all of this though was shot with giant scrims and bounces, and some of them with lights, but most of it were all naturally lit and manipulation of natural light, which is my specialty. And I can showcase this to any of you guys in person at our mind-blowing photographic workshop experiences that I do highly recommend you guys attend. So definitely, if you guys are interested, I'm also going to be offering an opportunity for you guys to jump on and have a free one-on-one photographic momentum session with one of our photographic consultants. And I think that it would be really, really recommended for all of you guys, even if you've done one in the past, just to kind of energize yourself and start thinking about how we can maximize your travel photography, how we can take it to the next level. Okay, very, very important. And if you guys haven't answered in the polls in the survey, please do. That's really, really important. We'd love to hear your perspective. And also here, guys, I'm going to put this link in the chat. And I strongly recommend that you guys click that link in the chat and sign up for a one-on-one free photographic strategy session, momentum session with one of our photographic consultants. So make sure if you guys haven't done that already, go ahead and do that. And it's and you could even, if you wanted to, you could speak to Priscilla here in France, broadcast from the castle, or one of our epic photographic consultants in the US. We have them in LA and Midwest, East Coast, Florida, everywhere. So we've got an amazing team, and I'd love for you guys to connect because we're here and this is all free. This is for us just giving back, helping photographers guide you guys to the next level of your photographic journey. Whether you're doing this just for fun, for travel, or whether you're doing this as a career, either way, it's totally cool. But we are really passionate about all of this. And we want to help you guys because it's really important to me. And I also hope that you guys come and join me here at my castle and have an epic experience because it will completely transform your life in photography. I can tell you what. All right, now, did you want to answer a couple questions? And then I want to bring in Priscilla. So Rob Camus, you asked, do you recommend a license and insurance for drones? Great question. So for drones, yeah, I mean, you can get the FAA license and that's great and all. I mean, if you want to do anything like really high production, especially for TV commercials, and you need to have that commercial license as a contingency for the client, then yes. Otherwise, I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I mean, I don't have an FAA license and I actually do shoot campaigns. In fact, I was also operating drone during the Burberry campaign. We were shot also stuff on Rodeo Drive for Burberry, and I didn't have an FAA license. I've never had an issue. And, I was being paid $42,000 for just a couple of hours of shooting between photographic and aerial stuff. So oftentimes, guys, you don't need it. And one of the reasons is the drones, they keep making smaller and smaller and smaller. So they kind of, depends on the model you have, but you can kind of get past the requirements needed to have the license. So, if you want to be extra safe and you're careful and you want to really follow the rules, that's totally cool. Or if you're like me, I'm traveling all these places all the time, all around the world. And, and honestly, they don't even care if you have the license in a lot of these countries. So it doesn't really matter. And oftentimes I am shooting in foreign countries where it's kind of irrelevant. So, but definitely if you are doing large scale commercial jobs, especially if you're mounting like a cinema camera on a drone, so you're using a large, massive drone, that's a different story. And you definitely need an FAA license for that. But that's like, mounting, large scale motion picture camera on a drone. And that's a little bit of a different story. Now, I'd love to bring on the great Priscilla Evans. She is an expert in production coordination, travel, and also resort lifestyle. And, and many of you guys who are on here, I know many of you guys have had a chance to work with Priscilla personally, which is fantastic. And if you have had the opportunity, I know that you guys have completely blossomed and transformed your photographic career, which is really, really exciting. And if you guys want to, kind of do this going forward and really, explode in your photography this year, I definitely recommend, doing a session with one of our consultants, including Priscilla or Vincent, or Al, or Andres, or any of our amazing team members. But this, in shooting, we talk about what we can do to transform your travel destination photography and video. All right, so I'm going to bring on the great Priscilla Evans, and she's also going to be here broadcasting from the castle.
Hey guys, it's great to be on, and I've been answering a few questions along the way, so great to talk to you, Kelly, especially. I know we were going back and forth with a few different conversations there. Imagine this on your website, homepage, the castle. I think this would be a huge benefit to you to be able to showcase this to any prospective client in the future, and to be able to land, more of those 10K destination weddings. And awesome, great for you as well that you're setting that price point, high, and you're setting it at a really a good price point, I think, for destination weddings. I think it's totally justifiable in today's market. You don't want to be saying yes to everyone. You want to be at a point where you're saying, no to some people, and you want to value yourself and value your time. So I feel like that's a really, really strong number to throw out there to start with. And it also gives you room to do a lot of different things with your marketing at that price point, especially actually approaching places. And I know you're using Kelly specifically a pay to play page at the moment. You're paying for some marketing guidance as well, but with a 10K budget, you can approach destinations directly, and you can actually approach them and offer them a kickback for booking you. So I would be looking at and starting to strategize about ways that you can kind of go around where everyone else is going, and kind of, like I was saying in that chat, if all the photographers going this way with their marketing, go that way, and find a way to directly approach those venues, get the direct conversations happening, make it more personal, make it more high end. And if you can offer them, a couple of $1,000s, or if you're charging 15K, I say offer 5K, back as a kickback to that location for booking you. Honestly, that's how most of the industry works. So if you can come in and basically beat someone else in terms of the kickback, you're probably going to be booking. So just some, fun strategies to think about there. But yeah, definitely throwing in locations like this and showcasing the best of the best. You want that first homepage to be like, whoa, when someone opens it, like, wow, I'm held, like my gaze is held, my attention is held. So for your current homepage, I know you've done a lot of weddings, and you have that on your website. It took me a little bit of finding to kind of locate those. So I'd say that we could definitely talk some strategies about what to show and showcase something even more incredible than what you've got there right now, to be able to land even more, of the high-end weddings. And if what you're doing right now isn't working, if it's not landing you that, we've got to change that strategy somehow. So what I love to do with photographers, and when we chat and we do these Zoom sessions, is to talk about the strategies you're currently using, to talk about what the website is right now, what impression I get. Sometimes it's just great to have someone give you an objective perspective on what the website says and what your brand says and how reachable you are and all those sorts of things. And I think when you have that, you can then start to gauge where you are sitting in the market and what you've got to do differently to attract a new audience. And so, normally if that conversation it doesn't always, but if it goes down the line of, hey, I'd love to jump in with a workshop with you guys, which is always fabulous when it does, then we talk about, okay, well, what sort of things do we need to have in the scenes of the workshop you're coming to really connect with your clients. So for example, we're talking about destination weddings right now, but if I digress for a sec, if we say that you're aiming for Coca-Cola, and to shoot a lifestyle advertising campaign for Coca-Cola, right? Well, we better then, get some Coca-Cola cans and throw that into the scene as well. So you've got something ready to pitch to them, and you look like you've specifically gone out and shot a whole campaign just to be able to have that conversation with them and start that conversation. So, the same thing with weddings. It's about, okay, well, you're aiming for high end. Well, what can we throw in that's high end? I know I was talking with, I think it was Alan, and he said that he has in his past launched hot air balloons in France for 6 years. That was his job. Awesome. We've actually shot with hot air balloons at different workshops before. And I think it would be totally doable here because we have a huge park, and it's definitely something we could talk about, something amazing to just make it really, really extra and over the top, and what else you can add in at the last second. So, we love to do that. So often the conversations with, myself or our other team members will become, what can we add in, and then basically Kevin puts his magic on it, and on the day turns it into this insane production with top supermodels, all the lighting dialed in, all the assistance you could ever need to help, so that your sole job is to just capture that content and get as much of it as possible, video, photography, the works, to be able to showcase and show everyone. So the more you can show, the better. Your brand, a few things I like to say on these webinars, is that, your brand is only as strong as your portfolio. Your portfolio is only as strong as its weakest image. Your images are only as strong as the quality of the models in those images. So, if there's an image in there that you feel is not quite as good as another, straight away, that means we need to take a look at that whole portfolio and maybe do a bit of a, brutal cut down of some of the images in there. And, you want to be consistent. You actually want to show a lot of consistency in the quality of the models. You want to show consistency in your lighting and in the production and in the high production value. And if you can show that and, beef up the portfolio and beef up the brand, then it's going to be worthwhile showcasing it. You really don't want to risk having that brand turn someone away. So, something that Kevin demonstrates is exactly that with his brands. He's getting approached to shoot for Burberry, for Dior, and for different, Giorgio Armani campaigns like that. So if you're getting approached by them, which is obviously the goal, but also if you can approach them and they're still interested in shooting with you, then your brand is obviously doing you justice. If your brand is turning away a client like that right now, then you're turning away a lot of other clients you might not be realizing. So always good to just only showcase content you would only want to show to the best out there. It doesn't matter if your client is, currently a 5K client or less, it doesn't matter. Always show the best, and always try and, be the best version of yourself and reflect that with your brand as well.
Priscilla, why don't you tell us about why the photographic workshops have really improved photographers' ability in resort lifestyle photography, how they've been able to land more opportunities and be more successful in their dream photography?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the workshops accelerate it. It's all great to say, let's go out there and let's, shoot this and change the whole portfolio. But a portfolio, we're talking about 40 images. So, at least that you want to be showing on there. That's a huge amount of work if you want each of those images to look like a different location, a different scene, different models, etc. So, it's really, really great to obviously invest in yourself and to be careful about what you're investing in. If you're investing in a pay-to-play service, it's a little dangerous because it is a very competitive space. All other photographers are, doing the same thing on that space as well. So you become kind of like a number one of many. If you're investing in, social or in, other people or a team, it might be a little hard to manage. Are you personally managing those people in that team? Are you telling them what to post and where, how to, word the messages to people? Are you telling them how to directly message people? Or is it just like, oh, I'm going to pay you and we'll try and develop some, ads or, maybe reach out to this many. It's a little hard. You want to be really careful about those and definitely analyze and be very careful about how, the numbers kind of stack up quantitatively. So, in terms of what we do, we're coming from like lived experience, being, Kevin's lived experience, having done this himself, starting out with nothing and building it into a brand that can be, booked by any of the highest end, labels or clients out there that exist. And that's a fabulous, lived experience to be able to base our knowledge and our guidance off. And, you know, with the workshops, we're accelerating that. We're basically packing all of that knowledge, all of that lived experience into typically 5-day experiences. It just depends on where we are in the world. But about 5 days, you can always do, you know, 2, 3, 4, or 5 days. But most of our photographers that come want to do the full experience. So they're there for 5 days with us. And it's like a week dedicated to developing your brand. And it's about what can we showcase that's going to land you, you know, how can we all collaborate together to land you the best opportunities out there, and to basically give you your marketing content for at least the next year. Honestly, most of our photographers are marketing content they shot at workshops like 5 years ago. They're still marketing it now because it's still super fresh, because of the way that we shoot things and the way we're very careful with our wardrobe and, you know, with what kind of trends that we show. So a lot of it stays fresh for a long time. But typically, you know, if you're earning, you know, I like to say if you're earning, you know, 100K a year, you should be investing, you know, 15 to 30,000, a minimum of that, back into your branding and your marketing. And if that's where you're aiming, you know, if that's the kind of number you're aiming to make, that gives you a bit of a guidance of what you should be investing in yourself in terms of your brand, and actually, you know, maybe spending it on coming to one of these to develop an entire brand you can capitalize off for years to come, and, you know, pay it back in dividends with what you book, and it will definitely land you. I mean, if you're doing what we say, if we, you know, if we say that you need to market this way, and build print promo pieces and send them out there, do the reach out, especially the direct reach out with calling and, you know, Zoom calls. Great thing about COVID is Zoom calls are totally accessible and okay now by everyone. Everyone's really comfortable with them. And that's a great thing for the destination space, because I think previously, you know, when before COVID, the Zoom call like world wasn't as everyone wasn't as aware of it, and it wasn't as okay to be doing. And I think that now, you know, the destination space is totally opened up because of that. You can talk to anyone on any side of the world at any time of day and connect with them and help develop and foster those relationships, which, you know, it's worth doing even if they don't, or they, you know, resort, for example, can't have you right now. Keep that relationship going, keep the emails going, and in a year's time, you know, reply to them again off of that email chain from the last year. It's a great way to say, hey, we've already got a relationship going, let's do something now. And often that's the way it goes, especially with the television shows. I know, you know, the next couple of locations we're shooting at, that's exactly how we actually confirmed them. We approached them years ago. We've literally just followed up to those email chains that we had years ago, and they're like, oh yeah, we remember you guys, perfect, we'd love to have you, timing works out really, really well now. And other resorts would do exactly the same for you if you're showing them the best content you possibly can.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla, because that was absolutely brilliant. And that's coming from an expert who, you know, works on both ends, and on the kind of the production side, the business side with coaching, and on camera. So it's pretty spectacular to see that. And as you can see, this is some of our epic content that we've actually done for our resort lifestyle and travel photography workshops, like Miami Beach, that we offer. And guys, I'm so excited about this topic, because for me, I love travel. Obviously, I'm a TV travel host. And not only do I love travel, but I love travel photography, and I love photography because it is obviously my passion. But I'm here to kind of, you know, be like, all right, it's not so scary. And a lot of photographers are like, hey, I love this. I love shooting. I love taking pictures. You know, when I go to travel to Rome, or I go to Egypt or whatever, I like to take pictures. How can I make money doing it? So I want you guys to think about that. Let's start thinking about how we can brand yourself as far as a travel fine art photographer. That's one thing. And you can brand yourself and start making prints. You can sell those images as stock photography, but you definitely need to start approaching the right magazines, the right clients. And I, you know, utilize things like Agency Access, Bikini Lists, and Yoda Lists. Those are the 3 listservs to be able to access the database, to be able to start reaching out to the clients that would hire me for those places. You can also reach out, if you want to do resort photography and filming, directly to the resorts. And, you know, and that way, you know, you're contacting Bora Bora, you contact the director of marketing. And oftentimes the director of marketing or PR is going to be the one handling that. And you want to talk to them and showcase to them, you know, stuff like this, like lifestyle resort photography shot in Miami Beach at the Miami Beach workshop. Content like this gets them excited, because it's, you know, it's contextual. It looks like it's at a resort, and they're happy, they're fun, they're smiling, they're enjoying life. This stuff is key. This is the kind of stuff they absolutely love. So the more lifestyle content they have, especially for travel, the more they want it. And that's why I've been able to shoot shoots for the Four Seasons. I've been able to shoot my TV show with Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Conrad, like all over the world, all the most amazing places. And a lot of it actually comes all from that. In fact, a lot of my content shot at these epic photographic workshops is what has landed me those opportunities, which is pretty incredible. All right, so guys, I really love talking about all of this, and I want to answer some more of your questions. So if you guys have any additional questions, you know, in addition to the fabulous ones we've had already, please put them in the Q&A so that we can go and answer them one at a time. But I love this, guys, and I love to talk about stuff because travel photography is so much fun. And I guess I would say some of the last kind of logistical, technical stuff that I want to talk about when it comes to travel is to start thinking about not just your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed, but also make sure to always have a wide angle lens. And I can't tell you how many photographers, you know, that I work with, for instance, and coach, they show up to a photo shoot and they don't have the right gear. They don't have the right lens. You know, they need a wide angle lens to shoot lifestyle photography, but they show up with a long lens. You know, so I recommend if you're going to do like landscape photography, you need that 16 to 35. That is absolutely key. If you want to shoot animals, you want to be photographing lions in the Serengeti, you're going to need at least a 300 millimeter lens. And I recommend the large scale, huge professional ones. I'd recommend even renting them. You know, these are the very, very expensive, like $50,000 lenses. I recommend renting those because they are amazing and they really make the content that much better and easier to photograph. But a 300 to 500 millimeter lens, if you're going to be shooting animals, if you're shooting landscape photography, you want to go as wide as possible. Love the 16 to 35. And I always prefer having variable lens focal lengths. I don't like having fixed focal lengths. I don't like being trapped just at 16 or trapped at 35 or at 50 or at 85. I like having different focal lengths. I think that is always better. And you know what? The quality of the lenses these days, especially the Canon makes, they are so high quality that the variable focal length lenses are just as good a quality as those fixed focal length lenses. You know, it used to not be the way, but these days it is definitely the quality is just out of this world. In fact, you know, one of the things I love is I'm all about lens flare, solar flare. I love getting solar flare. If I can get it, I am just a complete nut when it comes to that. And one of the problems I have is I'm shooting with Canon equipment and the lenses are so high quality, you don't get a lot of solar flare. Usually because solar flare is a chromatic aberration in the lens. And usually the crappier the lens, the lower quality the coating on the glass, the more solar flare you're going to get. So for instance, if you're going to shoot with like a Tamron, you're going to get a much better solar flare. But the Tamron lenses don't last. They get loose quicker, they fall apart and everything, but the solar flare is amazing. So that's the only downside of a really high-end lens is you're going to get not as good of solar flare. Okay. Now Michael also asked a great question. Michael Klug asked, I've had camera gear taxed when traveling abroad because I did not have receipts for the equipment. They charged me an export duty. That's pretty rare, Michael. I mean, if you had it in a brand new box, that's one thing, and they would for sure if you have it in a brand new box. If it does appear to be used and it's sitting in a, you know, a well-packed camera case, that's more extortion. That's going to be something that's extremely unusual. I bring my cameras everywhere in the world, all over the Middle East, all over Asia, all over Central America, Europe, and I've never had that happen to me. But I also don't bring brand new boxed equipment because I don't want that kind of thing to happen, because that is something that could happen because they think you're importing it and they want to charge you that duty. And I'm actually very aware of that because being in France, there's a lot of stuff that is that you can't get here. So I'm need to bring it from America. And oftentimes, I have guests of mine and production assistants and stuff that come over need to bring it in their suitcases. So I do recommend that you take it out of the brand new boxes so they don't get charged that tax, because that is actually a legit thing. But really, really good point there. Now, when it comes to travel photography, guys, the most important thing is to have something on you. And even if you don't have your big camera with your big lens, your big expensive stuff, that's okay. I don't mind photographing with my iPhone. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is one of the most incredible cameras, and honestly, the best camera you can buy and the best camera you can use on any shoot is the camera that you have available. And despite, I have all the bells and whistles and all the best equipment imaginable photographically and film wise, I still use my iPhone for everything, capturing incredible content that you might not be able to catch, and set your stuff down, bring out your camera, set up all your lenses and stuff and capture it. So I do, the cameras on our iPhones are amazing. The only downside is it is a little harder to blow up those giant 4x6 foot prints and have them as clear and perfect as what we're shooting with the Canon R5. So I definitely, prefer it, but it's these days, the cameras are so good. It's not that big of a difference. But when I am shooting, I do recommend you guys getting graduated neutral density filters if you're a landscape photographer. I also recommend getting the polarizing filters. These are not expensive. They're usually anywhere from $75 to $125. Not that pricey, but they're so worth it. They go on the front of your lens, and the circular polarizer will essentially darken the sky. It does darken the whole image, but it also removes any glare coming out of windows too, and glasses. So if your subject is wearing glasses, it can remove the flare, but it will darken the whole image by a couple of stops. So be aware of that, and you can adjust it. You can rotate it to get it darker or lighter. But I definitely think that is a great way, a great opportunity to use one of those when you're shooting landscape photography to capture it just right and get the right content. And another thing too is if you want to shoot something like like you're at Shen and So and that amazing chateau that we talked about earlier, and you're photographing and you don't want to have people in the scene, but you can't help it, you don't have any other choice. That's an opportunity to put neutral density filters over your camera, and you can get neutral density filters, and you can stop it down so much and do a long exposure. And I'm talking, could be 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds during daylight on a tripod, and the people will disappear because they're moving. And that is one strategy a lot of architectural photographers use, and landscape photographers do as well. I've used that myself, but it definitely takes a lot of patience, and you've got to be lugging around tripods and neutral density filters and stuff like that to do that. But that is another strategy. I like to be lightweight. I like to be mobile, and I like to, just shoot with my camera and lens, and maybe, a graduated neutral density filter and polarizing filter in my back pocket. So, 2 cameras, it's pretty much all you need. But guys, I think that, travel photography is, of course, something that is a passion, but it can also be a profession. So think about this. If you guys want to do this, start thinking, and I would recommend getting into this travel resort photography and lifestyle photography because it is rewarding. It's a lot of fun, as you can see. And I tell you what, when you create content that takes you to these unbelievable destinations, it is so worth every bit of it. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. And if you guys have any further questions, I'd strongly recommend you jump on and join one of our photographic consultants for a dedicated Zoom session. And make sure, if you guys haven't already, click that link and set up a one-on-one photographic momentum session. And I just put it in the chat, and I cannot wait to see you guys. We also offer some epic virtual workshops on marketing for photographers, retouching, including landscape and travel photography retouching, closing the deal, the business of photography. We offer one on branding, developing your photographic brand and your portfolio, as well as art direction, storytelling, and posing. So if you get interested in any of those are an incredible opportunity. And for watching this webinar, you get a $300 off. So it ends up, instead of being $12.95, it's only $9.95, and it counts as a 100% credit towards any 5-day photographic experience. So if you guys are interested in that, it will be an incredible opportunity that most of our photographers all take advantage of, and they get involved in these incredible experiences because it really adds to their photographic journey. So if you guys want to take your photography to the next level, we're here to help you, to guide you totally for free. Or if you want to develop yourself with any of our enrolled experiences, we'd love to have you. And au revoir from the French Castle, and I can't wait to see you guys in person.